Hello, I'm Alex and this is my Drytron deck profile. I reached Plat 1 with this. It's a good deck that can play going first and going second. I'll go over it real quick and explain some of the choices I made because they are questionable, to say the least. These are the default Drytron ratios. You want to play 2 Delta Altais, 2 Gamma Altanin, 3 Alpha Thuban and 3 Zeta Aldiba. Reason for this is that Zeta Aldiba and Alpha Thuban add you things. Alpha Thuban is the best because he can add you back Bentan and get the combo rolling. Bentan is just free materials for your Drytron names. Sometimes Delta Altais is really good if you, for example, have a, let's say, Natasha plus Delta Altais in hand. You can just summon Delta Altais and you tribute the Natasha. You can maybe reveal something in hand and then you draw into your combo pieces. Sometimes the draw is really important, but the draws are once per turn and drawing things isn't as good as searching things. I'm playing 2 Manju of the 10,000 hands. You can play 1 if you want to. I'm just playing 2 for the grind game. Sometimes you have games that reach 20 to 30 turns and then you need to summon another one. He searches you everything you need. He searches you Bentan, he searches you a ritual spell, he searches you the big Drytron names, he can search you the Odd Eyes Gravity Dragon that I will come to later, and I'm playing 1 Vanity's Ruler, also searchable by Bentan. Most of the time on your first turn you want to end on Vanity's Ruler plus another interruption that I will go to later to explain it, but he's very good. Needs 2 tributes, but he stops most of the decks if you go first. I'm playing 2 Cyber Angel Natasha. This, if it has been ritual summoned correctly first, if it's in the graveyard, can banish another Cyber Angel ritual monster from the graveyard to take control of one of your opponent's monsters and special summon herself. Also, she can make yourself gain life points, so you can not be gamed as quick as you would normally be. Natasha is great if you play against Eldritch. You can take the Eldritch away and then the traps do nothing. You can break boards with her because she's not once per turn, and if your graveyard is stacked with Cyber Angel monsters, you can use her 3 times, 4 times per turn, and you can just link off the monsters and use Natasha again. She's really good. I'm playing 2 because sometimes you need to search her, and if you search her, your opponent knows what's up, and then he's gonna try to stop the Natasha. If he has a called by, and called by is semi-limited in Master Duels, then he can just remove the Natasha from graveyard, and then that's bad. I'm playing 3 Bentan. Doesn't really need that much of an explanation. He searches you every Light Fairy, including himself, not once per turn when he's tributed. Which includes when he's tributed for a tribute summon of Vanity's Ruler, by the way. So that's funny. Yeah, most of the time you want to search another Bentan with a Bentan, then another Bentan, and then another Vanity's Ruler, or you search for a Natasha if you want to go second. Idaten is another Cyber Angel I'm playing. 1, because it's a Cyber Angel name, so we have more materials in graveyard for our Natasha. And sometimes you can just summon Idaten by detaching a material from Mobeta Fafnir, and then Idaten adds you back the ritual spell. You can link off Idaten, and then you can use the second material from Mobeta Fafnir to summon Idaten again. You don't need it that much, that's why I'm only playing 1 copy of it. Then I'm playing Odd Eyes Gravity Dragon. This returns all spells and traps your opponent has back to the hand, and he cannot respond to this. It's insane if you play against a control deck. It's really good. 2800 attack sadly means though that you need to tribute 2 Drytron monsters off, or you can just search one of the big Drytron guys and then tribute that name off because it's 4000 attack, and with Meteorus Drytron you can summon this then. I'm playing 1 each of the 4000 attack ritual Drytrons, 1 Meteorus Dracnoids and 1 Meteorus Quen Drantilus. Dracnoids is insane at breaking boards. 4000 attack is bigger than most of the monsters that other people play. He can attack all of the special summoned monsters your opponent controls if you use 2 Drytron monsters for a ritual summon, and he can quick effect during your opponent's turn send cards that he controls by banishing Drytron monsters from the graveyard. It's great if you have a matchup where you know, oh, my opponent needs to keep some cards on field, or you can send a continuous spell, you could send a field spell in response to it, so your opponent activates Magical Meltdown, you just send away the Magical Meltdown and they don't get the effect. Very good card. Meteonis Quendra, I'm struggling on that name, but the other Meteonis. He cannot be targeted by spells or traps, and he can destroy all of your opponent's spells or traps once per turn. Very good effect if you play against something that one cannot remove him because they cannot target him. All the Eldritch traps target, and he can just destroy their back row once per turn. So every single turn you just destroy their back row and they cannot even target him. And if they would destroy him, he floats into other monsters. And you can just use the monsters on field with Meteonis Drytron to summon him back from the graveyard, because Meteonis summons from graveyard as well. Then I'm playing one Raigeki. There's many decks that die against Raigeki. For example, your opponent ends on Appaloosa, ends on Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds, ends on, I don't know, something else. But many monsters just die to this. It's kind of a meme that many decks like VW dies to Dark Hole, and Raigeki is just devastating against many matchups. I'm playing one Terraforming as well as two Drytron Fafnir. Reason for this is Fafnir is a hard once per turn. So if you open Terraforming plus a Fafnir, you can just activate Terraforming, then they probably will ash the Terraforming because they think, oh, he's gonna add something like Diagram or Necro Valley or something else that's really scary against them. And then you just activate the Fafnir. And then they wasted their ash, and you can add with the Fafnir a copy of Nova, you can add a copy of Meteonis, depending on what your hand is. It's very good. Fafnir is kind of a magical meltdown for the deck because they cannot negate your ritual summons. Came up not many times for me, but when it came up, they tried to the Eldritch counter trap my ritual spells because they thought, oh man, I can negate the ritual summon, and then that's probably the best. No, you cannot. You cannot negate my ritual summon, and yeah. And then I'm playing two Cyber Emergency. This adds any Drytron name, but you don't want to add them that much. Like you want to have them in hand, because if you get Drolan Lockbirded on the Cyber Emergency, it really hurts. But also it kind of doesn't. Like Drolan Lockbird isn't that devastating because you can most of the times just end on a Vanity's Ruler. Yeah, it's good. It searches your stuff. Searching is always good. I'm playing one Preparation of Rites. Preparation of Rites adds you a Benton or any other of the Cyber Angel monsters, as well as the Odd Eyes Gravity Dragon, because he's a level 7 as well. And it adds you back a ritual spell. This means that if you have just this plus a Drytron name in graveyard, you can, for example, activate Preparation of Rites, add back a ritual spell from graveyard, add Natasha from deck to hand, and then you can tribute Natasha to summon a Drytron name, tribute the Drytron name with the Meteonis Drytron to get back Natasha from the graveyard, because Meteonis Drytron can ritual summon from the graveyard, and this is insane. You never lose your monsters, that's why you can play one-offs of all the good stuff, because you can just ritual summon it back from the graveyard. And yeah, and then you can start linking off Natasha and taking control of your opponent's monsters. It's good if you top deck this really late in the game. You don't need it that much earlier on. Where are though? I'm playing 2 off. You could play less Cyber Emergencies and more Where Are Those, because this is not once per turn at all. Good thing about Where Are Those is it's not a once per turn. For example, you have 2 in hand, you activate 1, they ash 1, you just activate the second, and then they are really sad because they wasted their ash. Cyber Emergency doesn't require you though to control a level 1 monster, which is really good as well. That's why you shouldn't just focus on one. And yeah, they are cheap, super rare and rare as well. This deck is really free to play friendly. There's maybe a dozen ultra rares in this, maybe. I'm not even playing Max C, so you don't have to get them as well. I played Max C's earlier, I played the Herald version earlier, they are not good. Max C just draws you into fairies if you play the Herald version, that's okay, but if you go second on the Herald version, you just have to concede. It's not good. You need to play something like this, because this can play through 4, through sometimes 5 interruptions, and it's incredibly good. Especially in an environment where you don't know if you go first or second. And that's just what this deck is made for. I'm playing 2 Lightning Storm. This is just a Harpy's Feather Duster against back row heavy decks, and it's a Raigeki against decks that overcommit their monsters without protecting them. I'm playing 2 Drytron Nova. Some people say you should play this at 3. Please don't. It's a hard once per turn, and you can add this with your Fafnir. It's good because it gives you 1 more material for the Vanity's Ruler tribute summon. You can just special summon the Drytron from the deck, make a relinquished anima with a Drytron, and then use the Drytron from graveyard to special summon him back as well. Meteorus Drytron is good because we can reveal this for Delta Altais, because it's a ritual spell we can have in hand, or it's just good because if you activated Zeta Aldibar already, or if you drew Meteorus in your hand, then your Zeta Aldibar doesn't add you anything if you just play 1 copy of the Meteorus. I'm playing 2 Chalice, just because you don't need 3 of it, and I'm playing 1 Called by the Grave. You don't really care about being hand trapped. You can play this just as an interruption. Sometimes it banishes the Outledge from your opponent's graveyard, sometimes it stops in Maxi. You don't die to Maxi, but it's still good to negate the Maxi. Let's go to the extra deck. I'm playing 1 King Nagashi Fako. This is good because it's your plan B. If you can end on 2 Drytron monsters, but there's nothing else you can do. Most of the times you won't get into this situation, because you can just make Mubita Fafnir, and Fafnir can send you another Drytron name from deck to graveyard, but imagine you're in a bad situation. This would probably not happen, but then you can make this. It's unaffected by all card effects, and if you detach 2 materials, it cannot be destroyed by battle, so unless they have a Kaiju, they have no out to this for 1 turn. I'm playing, mostly for the grind game, 2 of Mubeta Fafnir. It's great. It's a spell trap negate. Most of the time we want to end on this, plus Meteorus Quadrantal, plus Vanity's Ruler. That means they cannot special summon monsters. If they want to break your boards with a spell or trap, they cannot, because you can just negate it, and you end on something that's untargetable and can destroy all their spells and traps, and just floats for coming back if they would break your board. Then I'm playing 2 Relinquished Anima. This outs problematic monsters, and zone management is really important, and most people don't know how to do it. If they summon in front of your EMZ, then you can just take control of the monster, and you can equip it to the Relinquished Anima. So it removes 1 problematic monster most of the time, or they have to negate it. And it's just something to link off a Drytron name with. I'm playing 1 Track Black. This is my secret tag in the deck. It's a generic link 2 that you can play under Gozen Match, because it's a light, and most of your deck is light. And you can play this under There Can Be Only One, if you need to link off stuff. It's generic as a link 2. You can play this under There Can Be Only One because it's a Cybers, and you don't have any other Cybers in the deck. And this can target your Meteorus Dragnoid that can attack all of your opponent's special summoned monsters, and every single time the Meteorus is destroying a monster, you will draw 1 card. So if they have 5 special summoned monsters, you can just break their board and you draw 5 cards on top of it. It's insane when it works, and sometimes it's just a generic link 2 to make your access code. Cross Sheep is good. You can, if you have Natasha in graveyard, use Natasha, link off Natasha plus the monster you stole from your opponent to make a Cross Sheep, and then just summon Natasha again, summon Natasha under the Cross Sheep, so then you use the Cross Sheep effect to draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. Union Carrier is good because it can get anything from your deck and send it to the graveyard if you link Union Carrier off, and it's a machine monster, so you can use it for Meteorus Drytron. Herald of Mirage Lights, adds you back things if you send it to the graveyard. For example, if they use a Dogmatica card to make you send cards from your extra deck to the graveyard, you can send this, and then you can add stuff back from your graveyard. Or sometimes you just end on this, and they know that if this is destroyed by their card, you can add back a Benton, you can add back a ritual spell, so they just don't attack it. So it's an emergency option as well, and it just needs 2 monsters with the same type and attribute, so you can make it with 2 fairies or 2 Drytrons. Geonator Transversa, another really good monster. They summon in the middle monster zone, you have the left extra monster zone. You can just take control of their monsters. Sometimes they have monsters that cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, number F0 or something. You just take control of them. You bait the negate of the F0 and then you take control of them, and then you have the F0. They spent all their materials, they spent all their energy summoning a really good boss monster. You just take control of it. Geonator Transversa, people are sleeping on this, it's a really good card. Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. I rarely ever use this, I have to admit. It's okay. If you want to flex on your opponent, you make an Appaloosa on top of it, but you don't need it. Unchained Abomination, I pulled one, so I play it. I could play 14 cards in extra deck as well. It doesn't do much as well. It's just it's a win more card. You flex on your opponent at the point when you're summoning this. And then there's an access code talker. I think access code talker is overrated, but big but he can swing for game. I mean, that's why people are playing him. You can summon access code, banish a link 2 that you used for its summon, and then you have a 4300 attack point monster. They cannot beat this most of the time. Yeah. Again, this is really free-to-play play friendly. There's many Drytron cards that are easy to obtain. I was shocked when I saw Zeta Aldiba is a rare, Gawa Altanine is a rare, another normal, rare on Drytron Nova. I got pretty easy to plat 1, I have to say. Most of my losses were because I just went AFK during the game. I have to admit. Yeah. Feel free to use this deck list as well. Yeah, the only changes I would make are maybe you can play 3 Lightning Storm. Maybe you can play something instead of the Abomination. But this is really good. I can tell you, I played the Herald version. I played versions with Maxi. You don't need Maxi, you don't need the Herald version. The Herald version is good going first. It's really good going first. I can admit that. But it's crap going second. If you want to go second, you will never break a board with this. Like, what are you gonna do? Attack with 1800 into their monsters? You're just never gonna do that. Maxi is okay, Eva is okay. You don't need them though. Yeah. Hope you had fun. Hope you have more fun playing Master Duels. Yeah. Have a nice day.